This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised. Hi everyone, I'm Talia.
And I'm Tanya.
And together we are Crimes and Consequences, a true crime podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Crimes and Consequences. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Talia.
And we're a couple of lawyers in real life who like to say the F word a bit.
Yep. And we have a podcast.
And you're watching it right now.
On True Crime Daily, or listening.
Yes.
And we appreciate you all.
And before we get into today's episode, just like to remind everyone to hit the subscribe or follow button on whatever, or like, on whatever app. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could do that, that would be great. And now we're going to get into the episode today. Have you heard about the Stay family?
No, I was thinking you were talking about the McStay.
No.
Or isn't that a case? Isn't it?
I think so. But nope, that's not the right one. So
okay. Nope, then I don't know.
All right.
I don't know, so tell me.
I will.
Share with me.
July 9th, 2014 started off as just another beautiful day, summer day, in suburban Houston, Texas.
Okay.
The Stay family consisted of 7 people. There was mom and dad, Katie and Stephen, who were 39, and Katie was 33, and Stephen was 39, and their 5 children.
Wow, 5.
5.
They got more than me.
Whew, I know.
Wow.
15-year-old Cassidy, 13-year-old Bryan, 9-year-old Emily, 7-year-old Rebecca, and the baby of the family, 4-year-old Zachary. On this particular Wednesday, Katie and Stephen were out running errands and had left the children at home with the eldest, Cassidy, at the helm. Cassidy and her brothers, sisters, they were just hanging out around the house, and they lived in Spring, Texas, when the doorbell rang.
Spring, Texas. That sounds nice.
It does. Cassidy answered it, and when she opened the door, there was a man dressed in a FedEx uniform.
It's got a package.
Right. The man asked Cassidy to see her parents, and she said that they weren't home, and she closed the door. The man left, but returned a few minutes later. He again rang the doorbell, and again, Cassidy answered, telling him her parents weren't home.
Hey, what part of my parents aren't home?
I know.
You're not kidding.
I mean, it's kind of creepy if she has to say it twice. When she opened the door, the man told her, "I used to be your uncle.
What?
I was married to your mom's sister." Cassidy was weirded out just by this whole encounter, and for good reason, because when she tried to shut the door, the man forced his way into the home, and after he tied her up.
Tied her up?
Yeah.
Where were the other kids?
They're there. He tied Cassidy up. He made her lay face down. He tied all of the children up.
Oh, my God.
And made them lay face down on the floor. And he said they were going to wait for Katie and Stephen to get home.
Oh, those poor kids.
Yeah. They must have been terrified.
Well, yeah.
I would have just, I don't know.
Holy shit.
Katie and Stephen got home and...
Surprise.
Yep, surprise. And the man had a gun, so that's why they're complying, in case you're wondering. You know, it's not like he's like super overpowering them. He's got a gun, so he's just scaring the shit out of them. And Katie and Stephen get home, and he also ties them up and makes them lay face down on the floor.
Was he an uncle?
Yeah, he was an ex-uncle. His name was Ronald Lee Haskell. And so, yes, it was true what he told Cassidy, that he'd been married to Katie's sister, Melanie. The reason Cassidy didn't initially recognize him, in case you're wondering, like when he knocked on the door, is because Melanie and Ronald had lived in Utah for most of their marriage.
They're far away.
Yeah. And, you know, they didn't visit much prior to the divorce.
But when Katie and Stephen came home, they recognized him.
Oh, absolutely. They knew exactly who he was.
Like, shit.
Yeah. At the time of the home invasion, Ronald was living in California with his parents, and he moved there soon after he and Melanie divorced. And Ronald really held a grudge against Melanie for divorcing him. And when he was at the Stay House in July 2014, It was because he had come up with a perfect plan to get back at her.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You hurt the ones they love.
He was going to murder her entire family. I know. And when he got to the stay house, because Melanie is not there, obviously, she doesn't live there, he had one thing on his mind. He wanted to find her because he decided he was going to go visit her after.
But wasn't she in Utah?
Nope, she had moved back to Texas after the divorce.
Okay.
So while this family of 7 is laying on the living room floor, he demanded to know where Melanie was. He asked each family member, "Where's Melanie?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said they didn't know. Even though
Was that true?
No, that wasn't true. But, they didn't want.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's of course, right? I'm not going to give it up. And so when they answered that he didn't know, he started shooting each of them, execution style.
You got 5 kids. You're telling me there's 5 kids.
Yes. He shoots everyone in the head.
In the head.
Even 4-year-old Zachary.
What?
Zachary was initially shot in the shoulder, which was a wound he could have survived. And when he was initially shot, he ran over to Stephen's body, and Stephen was already dead. But he's a little boy who's 4, and he ran over there to try to bury his head in his father's shoulder. I mean, he was looking for some comfort. I'm sure the poor thing was just terrified.
You run to your parents when you're scared.
Yes.
No.
And that's when Ronald delivered another bullet to the back of little Zachary's head.
I hate Ronald.
Yes. After shooting everyone, Ronald left. And this is when he was headed to Katie and Melanie's parents' home. He was determined.
He's going to annihilate annihilate the whole family.
Absolutely. Yep. This is what's on his mind. He was determined just to continue this massacre. And while he's questioning everyone before he shot them all, he's telling them that this is what he's going to do. He's saying, after I'm here, I'm going to your parents' house, and I'm going to, try to track down Melanie, and I'm, going to kill everybody. So he's telling them what his plan is.
And that they're going to die.
Right. And that they're going to die. And while he's, before he left, little did he know there were still 2 members of the Stave family who were still alive.
Oh. And they were shot in the head. Yes. Shot in the head, and they survived.
Yes. 15-year-old Cassidy, while she had been shot in the head, like you said, she had put her hand up to that reflex, right?
Yeah,
to try to protect. Yes.
But it usually doesn't work because it'll just go right through your hand.
I know. You don't think about it, right? It's like when people put their hands up when somebody's coming at them with a knife and everything.
Yeah.
But when the bullet made contact with her body, the placement of her hand prevented it from going straight into her head. It kind of severed her finger and kind of ricocheted a little bit. So it really just grazed her head.
Wow.
And she played dead. And I know we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I don't know how you play dead when your heart is going a million miles an hour. And I'd
have a panic attack. I'd be like,
I know.
I'd be freaking out.
Right?
I wouldn't be able to fake it.
I'm not sure my breathing would be out of whack, right? You're just, I don't know how anyone does it, but
who knows?
I know. But bless her heart, she did it.
Good for her.
She did such a good job at it. Playing dead, that Ronald thought he killed her along with the rest of the family. But she only suffered a skull fracture, and thankfully she was still alive.
Oh.
So knowing that Uncle Ronnie was headed to her grandparents' home after he left, when he left the home, Cassidy ran to make the 911 call. She was able to alert the police of what she had just witnessed in her own home and that Ronald was headed to her grandparents' home. She gave the 911 operator her grandparents' address, and the police headed that way, hoping that they could catch Ronald before he hurt anyone else.
Yeah, to get there in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, using this information that Cassidy provided, the police were able to confront Ronald at her grandparents' house and before he had the chance to exit his vehicle. He ended up, though, taking the police on a 20-minute chase that involved about a dozen police cars.
How do you think you're going to get out of that?
I don't know.
How do you think? You think that eventually they're going to be like, oh, wait, my gas is low and just stop chasing you?
Right?
No.
That's what I always think when people do that. I always think
you're not going to get away with that.
No.
Nobody gets away with that. Not with all those cars.
But he does. And the chase ended in a cul-de-sac. in front of a house that was about 3 miles from the stay home. During the chase, the police used a spike strip to stop the car that Ronald was driving. So, they do the spike strip, and so that's when they're able to then block his car using 2 armored vehicles, similar to like the big ones you see on TV. I mean,
So he's screwed.
Oh, yeah.
He's caught.
Yeah, one of the armored cars literally blocked his little sedan by driving basically on top of it. So he wasn't going anywhere.
So that's the end of the story.
Yeah. The end. Thank you for watching. Not true. Not quite. While Ronald was trapped, he still had that pistol. It was a semi-automatic pistol that he had, and he held it to his own head.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're having a standoff. So during the standoff, which lasted about 4 hours, of course, the police evacuate all of the homes nearby, and they spoke to Ronald on a cell phone. And after about 4 hours, like I said, he surrendered without anyone else getting hurt.
Well, yeah, okay. Where's he going to go?
I know.
mean, he's, like I said, he's fucked.
And Cassie likely saved the lives of her grandparents that day.
Who else survived, though?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Like I said, she wasn't the only survivor. Initially, 7-year-old Rebecca survived the shooting.
Why did you say initially?
Because she succumbed to her injuries and passed away at the hospital.
Mm.
Because, they did send an ambulance right away when Cassidy was on the 911 call, and they took both her and her sister to the hospital. But unfortunately, Rebecca's injuries were so severe that she passed away. Cassidy remained in critical condition at Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital for a few days, but she was finally released on July 11th once, they thought she was well enough to go.
And her whole family has been slaughtered.
Right?
Her whole family.
And she's only 15.
Except for her grandparents. Oh, my Lord have mercy.
I know. I can't imagine living. Can't imagine living with that either. Like
a survivor's guilt.
Oh, she must. I hope she's getting help, because this is just so sad. I can't, and they were killed in front of her.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing, lose them in a car accident, but she's got the memory of that horrible day. Well, you may be wondering, what could have possibly triggered this whole horrendous event? Life seemed to be going great for Ronald and Melanie when they married on March 15th, 2002 in Orange County, California. After they were married, the couple moved to Logan, Utah, and they had 4 children together.
So he's the dad of 4 children.
Yes, he's the dad of 4 children. However, at some point, Melanie filed for divorce, which was finalized on Valentine's Day in 2014.
Ow.
I know.
Oh, that hurts.
And that's when she headed to Houston to move back to be close to her family, and her sister Katie helped her. The reasoning behind the divorce was because Ronald had some anger issues.
Ronald's an asshole.
Yeah.
We can already know that. That's
in case
why.
you haven't realized, he's got anger issues.
No, I didn't catch any of that
Yeah.
during the mass shooting.
Yeah. He would take his anger out on Melanie and his children. He would physically
Abuse them?
Yeah, of course. Melanie bravely reported the domestic abuse and had a protective order put in place. He was charged with suspicion of domestic violence, assault, and committing an act of violence in front of children in June 2008.
Suspicion of domestic violence?
Yeah, maybe that's something in like Utah that
we don't normally have suspicion. You either did it or attempted to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think the laws might be a little different.
Okay.
On one occasion, Ronald pulled Melanie out of bed by her hair and struck her on the side of her head in front of their children. When he was charged, he initially told the police, "I only pushed her. I mean, that's the only thing that happened."
Mm-hmm.
And he had no clue. He acted like he had no clue.
He had no clue
where these allegations were coming from.
Why would she say that?
Why would she say that?
Great husband that just pushed her.
Yeah, I just pushed her. I mean,
okay.
He ended up pleading guilty to the simple assault charges, but he pleaded not guilty to the charges of domestic violence. And once the plea was obtained, the rest of the charges were dismissed and no jail time. He got no jail time for the assault.
Did they still have the no contact order?
Not yet.
Appeal?
Not yet.
No?
Nope. That didn't come until a little later. On July 8th, 2013, the following day after the charges were dismissed, that's when Melanie filed for the protective order against her then husband. And didn't take her long to file for divorce a month later.
So after he did that to her and she filed those charges and he went through the whole plea and stuff, did he live with her?
No.
No. She was like, I'm done.
Yeah,
Good for
I'm done.
her.
In October of that same year, in 2013, Ronald and Melanie came to an agreement in their divorce. They agreed that the custody arrangements that they had for the 4 children, they agreed on those. Melanie was going to have primary custody. Yep. And Ronald was given visitation rights.
Every other weekend, one night during the week.
No,
for dinner,
because she was moving to Texas.
And that's a big deal to be able to move.
Yeah. And
People
he
don't
ended up
understand
moving to California.
Oh.
He moved in with his
moving too.
parents
Okay.
in San Marcos. So those who really knew Ronald and Melanie said the two of them did seem to have a bit of a rocky marriage, but they just were really confused as to how this whole thing snowballed into like a family massacre.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah, it's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when they got the divorce, Melanie was just desperate to get away from him. And she would tell her sister Katie, you know, everything. And Katie was determined to get Melanie and her 4 children back to Texas so that she could be near family. And
yeah, because the parents are there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it maternal grandparents?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's Melanie and Katie's parents. So she did what any good sister would do. I mean, you would help your sisters.
Absolutely.
And she helped Melanie get away from this horrible man.
And I'm sure there's more incidences of domestic violence and shit. And I'd be surprised if you didn't mention some stalking.
Yeah, he was just
a piece
horrible.
Of shit.
And you know, Melanie's divorce lawyer was even fearful.
Really?
For Melanie's safety. Her attorney's name was A. Daniel Barker. He was just sickened when he learned what happened to the Stay family. And he felt guilty because he felt like he should have at least seen an inkling of what Ronald was capable of. What would he have been able
to do?
I know.
If there's already an order in place, like for no contact or a PPO, there's nothing he can do.
Right. You know, he said he tried to like rack his brain, trying to remember, was there anything, like any kind of clue maybe that I missed? And he said, you know, Ronald seemed like a decent person, even though he did have a feeling that there was some bad lurking underneath it all, you know, like he was like a ticking time bomb, but
nothing like psychotic.
No. And, you know, he didn't think Ronald was capable of doing something like this.
How many people you think are? You don't really think, oh, he's capable of wiping out a whole family.
Right.
Well, sometimes I have in some of our cases.
Yeah, you're like, ooh.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, like, oh, we better follow up with them. And I got to check them out and see where they're at in 6 months. So he was relieved when he found out that Melanie was going to Houston and that Ronald was moving to California because he's like, okay.
Far apart.
Yeah, they're states away from each other, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of miles away from one another. So he's like, phew. And, you know, like everything should be fine. But.
So was he allowed to take the kids to California with him?
I don't know.
Or probably just liberal parenting time when he's in Texas. I'm just being a lawyer.
Being a lawyer, yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Talia. I don't know the details of their divorce judgment. I'm sorry to not look it up.
Okay, well, that's fine. I'll forgive you this time.
That's one thing I did not research.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yes, that's what I'm guessing too, because we are family lawyers and, you know, we have done long distance parenting time agreements and things. And usually it's, you know, the parent that moves outside of Michigan gets maybe longer time in the summer and they get maybe holiday.
Or if they come in the state, they can see the children.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
well, he wasn't happy with whatever it ended up being.
He was just bitter at Melanie. The main reason he was mad was because Melanie went public with
the truth.
Yeah, the truth and the abuse. Being an
abusive asshole.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he was most upset about. And, you know, I mean, everybody knew that he was a dick. So, I mean, let's just like call it like it is, right? 1 week prior to almost completely annihilating the Stay family, Ronald's own mother, Carla Jean Haskell, she spoke to the police about her son. Carla told the police that she needed to file a restraining order against Ronald because they had a ferocious argument, is how she described it.
His own mom.
And he lived with his parents. During the argument, Ronald had forced his mom into the garage of the home. After she was in the garage, he tied her wrists together with duct tape.
What?
Yeah. And
That's more than I got into an argument with my mom.
No, this is bad. He then taped her to a computer chair.
What the
he tapes her arms. He tapes, I can just imagine him like going round and round the chair.
Holy shit.
He left her there for 4 hours. Oh. He threatened to kill her.
I feel like you're grounded.
I know, you're grounded.
You're so grounded.
I know, you are grounded.
He threatened to kill his own mom. Duct taped her to a chair?
Yeah, duct taped her to a chair, and he threatened to kill her along with everyone else in the family.
Wow.
So, he screamed at her. He choked her until she passed out.
What the fuck, Tanya?
And you want to know what the reason for the argument was?
What? She didn't make dinner right?
No, it was because Carla had told him she'd been in contact with his ex-wife, Melanie.
Okay.
Melanie was a good person. I mean, it's not surprising that her in-laws would want to keep in touch with her, considering
she's got 4 of their grandchildren.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it makes sense. But this information...
This is way over the top for Ronald. Come on.
This information just set him over the edge.
Holy shit. Who does that to their mom?
I know.
Not your mama.
And I mean, don't you want your mom to see your kids? And talk to them maybe? Because I'm sure, if they're talking on the phone...
No, he's lost it. He's losing it. He's losing it.
Absolutely. After the San Marcos police got done speaking with Carla in regards to her son...
So he ended up, what?
Letting her go.
I'm sorry, Mom.
I guess. I don't know what the aftermath was, because I would be terrified, right? I'd be terrified because I'm like, you said you were going to kill everybody.
And he choked her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Until she passed out. So the police then go searching for him, and they can't find him because they want to bring him in for questioning. But they check all the places where he normally hung out.
Wouldn't that be attempted murder?
I don't know.
Could be.
Maybe.
You're choking somebody till they pass out.
That's true.
Just saying.
And I'll get back to it.
Definitely kidnapping.
Yeah, something.
Assault. Mm-hmm. Assault with intent to commit bodily harm. Sorry. I'm just thinking.
Quit showing off for everyone, Talia.
I'm just trying to sound smart, okay? I don't know.
So from the outside, everyone that knew the Haskell family thought they were just this perfect Mormon family trying to live their lives in Utah. Melanie was a great mom. Ronald was a great dad who loved his family. However, their secret life was exposed. And everything just came crashing down when Melanie filed for divorce. She decided she wanted to move to Houston to have a better life for her and her kids. Mm-hmm. They would be happy. They'd be near family. And they would no longer have to see their mother and themselves, because he's beating his children too, be physically abused.
Right.
And another thing that probably set him off was he was unemployed at the time of the divorce, but he was court ordered to give Melanie child support.
Son of a bitch.
I know. And for 4 children.
How am I supposed to pay? I don't have a job.
Exactly.
Well, you got to get one. Yeah, that's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Guess how much he was made to pay for 4 children?
$120 a week.
No, almost. It was $773 a month,
okay,
which was less than $200 a week. But, he had no idea how he's going to pay it. Maybe get a job, like you said.
No, I don't know. That's an option.
And, he moved in with his parents.
That just tells me he has, no overnights when he's got to pay that much, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was very little for 4 children. When he got to California, his parents weren't that happy to see him. I mean,
I bet.
They were like,
you're
great.
moving in with us?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. And, his anger, and he was suffering from depression. The anger and the depression completely took over his life after the divorce. According to some, they said he would go on for days without eating or leaving his bedroom at his parents' house. And the anger became too much that day when his mother had to file that restraining order to put,
What does Dad do? If I was his dad, I would just be like...
I know. Where was Dad when this all happened? I don't know. His mom wrote in her application for that restraining order that if Ronald was to stay in the house, he was going to absolutely harm her again. She was convinced.
Yeah.
But the application for the order was later dismissed.
What?
When she failed to go through with it. I know.
But you know what? Even the prosecutor could have went on the charges.
I know, that's the thing. Like here,
you don't need that.
Here, when somebody, if a domestic violence charge comes up, you don't have to. If I was the one being abused, I don't have to continue to pursue it. Like the prosecutor will pick it up.
But then again, they're going to lose their star witness.
That's true.
So,
but yeah, it was dismissed.
Well, it's hard, a mama with her son.
I know.
But I mean, he was over the top.
I know. And I'm sure she was scared shitless to live with him any further. I mean, I would be.
Yeah.
You never know. He's going to come get you, and he's threatened to kill you already. Anyway, Ronald was arrested for the murders of the Stay family on the morning of July 10th, 2014, and he was charged with 6 counts of capital murder by the Harris County Sheriff's Office. He was held without bond, and the following day, he made his first court appearance. And oh boy, what a court appearance.
Oh, this was going to be one of those.
Yeah. While the charges were being read against him, he began shaking.
Being arraigned.
Yes,
right?
He's being arraigned, yes. He began shaking uncontrollably. He ended up collapsing.
Oh.
In the courtroom. And nobody's quite sure why. And the deputies.
Dramatic.
Yes, right. Like, I don't know if he really passed out or not. Like, it sounds like, exactly. Sounds like he's putting on some theater. The deputies were able to lift him up to his feet, after he collapsed. And then he collapsed again.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of his collapsing.
And so once he couldn't remain upright, he had to be escorted out of the courtroom via a wheelchair. They gave him a wheelchair to sit in.
It's just an arraignment.
I know. I'm like, dude, this is what you did.
Right.
I mean,
these are just charges.
Yeah, they're just charges.
Chill out. You did it.
Yeah, you did it.
You didn't collapse after you shot them all.
I know.
But now you're collapsing here.
Mm-hmm. The funeral for the murdered members of the Stay family was held on July 16th. Cassidy attended the service with her grandfather, Robert Lyon, by her side. She showed up with a smile on her face, but inside her heart was broken.
Oh, man.
But she tried to remember like the good things about her family. And, the crowd, 400 people showed up. So, there's hundreds of people there. And, she's saying, I love you to all of them. And
this is
sign
breaking
language.
my heart.
I know.
Sign language.
She said, I love you in sign language. And, so she's there and these 6 caskets come rolling in. And she absolutely broke down.
Oh, yeah.
As she witnessed this.
Oh, man.
Her family. I want to cry thinking about it.
You're making me all sad now.
I know. And she did speak at their funeral, and she remembered them. Like, she told little anecdotes about her family members and things like that her brothers and sisters loved to do. She tried to really give everybody like a little glimpse of what they were like in life. And at the funeral, she was comforted by her remaining family.
She's only 15.
No,
wow.
I know. It's just so sad. So she did tell everyone, I am doing a little better after my injuries. And she was working her way to having a full recovery. And she did tell everybody, quote, I know that my mom, dad, Bryan, Emily, Becca, and Zach are in a much better place. And that I'll be able to see them again one day.
She is a better, stronger person than me.
I know. I can't. The strength she had to be able to do this, I don't even know, me at my age. I don't even know if I could.
No.
This is just terrible.
I need a lot of Xanax or something.
Many families spoke at the service, and they did a lot like what Cassidy did. They spoke about like for Katie, like she just loved being a mom, and she just had like this great sunny personality, and Stephen always put his family first, and it was just It was lovely. I mean, for the circumstances, it was nice memories that they all had. Cassidy just, wanted her family to be remembered not for how they died, but for how they lived.
Wow. Okay.
After years of delays, Ronald's trial finally began August 26, 2019. 5 years.
Were they seeking the death penalty?
Oh, yeah.
That's why.
The prosecution did everything they could to try to convince the jury that Ronald's murderous spree was based on vengeance.
Yes.
The first piece of evidence that the prosecution introduced to the jury was Cassidy's 911 call. On the tape, Cassidy told the operator that her entire family had been shot and that she needed immediate help. The 911 operator then asked who the shooter was, and she said Uncle Ronnie.
They make her testify.
Yes.
Oh, I knew it.
And
in the courtroom or via Zoom?
No, it was in the courtroom. There's pictures online of her testifying in the little witness box. Another person who testified was Sergeant Beck, who was one of the police deputies from Harris County. He was the first to arrive at the scene. He testified just how surreal it was.
Yeah.
And after he helped Cassidy, he checked the other victims to see, if anyone was still alive. And that's when he discovered Rebecca. And he had a body cam, and that video was shown to the court.
Imagine being on the juries. Oh, man. An autopsy. No,
I know. They were
family. No.
I mean, the jury was just stunned. I mean, I wouldn't want to see it. I mean, it's just, they got to see Cassidy. I mean, she's terrified. They see the
bleeding.
Yes.
Bleeding.
I'm sure she's bleeding. Because head wounds bleed a lot. And even if she was just grazed, I'm sure there was tons of blood. It was just.
She's missing a finger.
Yeah. Right. Like, whew. Anyway. It was bad. When Melanie was called to testify.
Poor Melanie.
Oh,
Ew.
she must have felt terrible, right?
Guilt.
Oh, man. I can't even imagine. And during her testimony, she told the court that Ronald had warned her that her family would be murdered if she ever told anyone about the violence and abuse that she was suffering at his hands. She told the court that as soon as she heard about the murder, she instantly knew
it was Ronald.
It was Ronald. She said, quote, "He carried through on his promise to make me watch my family die."
That's how you get people. Don't hurt them. Hurt the ones they love.
Yeah, right. That's just
my weakness. My family.
My worst fear is for something to happen to someone I love, right?
God, he's an asshole.
I know. While she testified, she rarely looked in his direction, and she never mentioned him by name. She called him the defendant. She told the court that during her marriage, he forced her to be isolated from her family. I mean, it was typical abuse,
right. Isolated from family, friends, controller.
And she was afraid of him. She was terrified, and it almost, crippled her. During the trial, the prosecution presented physical evidence from the scene, such as bullet casings, and they showed the jury very graphic photos taken of the victims and the murder weapon.
I mean, I can't believe he even went to trial. Hello, there's this high-speed chase with the police.
I know. A 911 call identifying him. I know. Like
you're being blocked in. You got a 4-hour standoff.
And you think with the death penalty on the table, you think he was just taking a plea.
A plea for life in prison, no parole.
No, his lawyers, his defense was that he was insane.
Insane.
At the time of the...
Wasn't just a heat of passion? He was insane.
He was insane, yes. There was even one of the pictures that was shown was a bullet made its way into Steven's wallet. He had it on him. So I don't think Ronald was just shooting everyone once. I think there was multiple shots because, like I said, Zachary got in the shoulder.
That's right.
So I think he shot everyone a couple times. I don't know, but even though I didn't find any articles or anything that said that, but that's what I think happened.
You're probably
that's my
right.
opinion.
I mean, you're not a trained professional.
I'm not a trained professional. I'm not a forensic analyst, but anyway. So regardless of all this physical evidence, the phone call, the bullet casings, whatever.
Tying up mom.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, the defense strategy was to show that he was insane at the time of the attack. The defense told the jury that Ronald has since been sedated and treated for mental illness.
What mental illness?
Depression, anxiety. I think there was no like, oh, he's paranoid, schizophrenic, something serious, or like bipolar disorder or something, maybe, that went untreated for years or something. No, it was none of that. It was, he's just.
Didn't he drive from California all the way to Texas?
Yes.
So he had a long time to turn around.
Yeah, it took him over 24 hours to drive to Texas. So he had a lot of time to think about this. His attorney, Douglas Durham, stated that the state of Texas had this insanity statute, and he was so certain the evidence was going to show that Ronald was under extreme mental incapacity because, how can anybody do this for revenge?
Well, let me tell you, he's going to lose because state of Texas really...
Texas don't play.
Texas don't play.
Texas don't play.
Texas don't play. And they have a very high standard to meet the, for lack of a better term, insanity defense.
Yeah.
You're not going to win it.
During the trial, it came to light that after Ronald drove from his parents' home to Spring, Texas, and like I said, it was more than a day, he stalked. Remember you mentioned stalking?
Said there had to be some stalking in there.
Yeah, he stalked the State family for 2 whole days before finally murdering them. While each side planned to present witnesses to plead their case, the most emotional testimony obviously came from Cassidy. She was on the stand on day 2 of the trial. And she started off the prosecution really did kind of a masterful job because initially, instead of just boom, 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 asking her questions about what happened, they had her, tell about her family.
Oh.
And pull on the heartstrings of the jury.
Pulling on the heartstrings.
Yeah. And then they did ask her about the attack. She said she remembered answering the door and there was a FedEx guy there and he was holding a white pillow that was covered in duct tape. And she said she was initially confused. Like, what is this? But he used it as a silencer.
Was he dressed as a FedEx guy?
He was dressed as a FedEx guy, and he actually worked for a company, like one of his prior jobs. He worked for a company that was contracted to FedEx, so he did have a FedEx uniform. He was not a direct employee. Okay. He was a contract employee, right. But I'm trying to defend FedEx a little bit, but he was, he was a contract employee.
So angry right now.
I know. And Cassidy described that before he started shooting everyone, she was just praying as they were being held at gunpoint while she and her siblings were being held. And they waited for her parents to come home. And while they're waiting, she's trying to talk to Ronald and try to relate to him, like on a human level.
Uncle Ronnie.
Yeah, she started talking to him about her siblings. She told him how old they were. She said, she was trying to appeal to his humanity. And,
smart.
She said, I didn't think someone would hurt kids if he knew their names and how old they were.
Especially a 4-year-old dad.
Oh my God, I know. And he's a dad, right?
Right, with his own 4 kids.
Yeah. And, there have been studies done that this technique
works.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It works sometimes.
Probably not with Ted Bundy.
Probably not.
But with some people.
But with some people, I think when you try to put the humanity, and, we've done stories where, like, if you're captured by a serial killer or something, sometimes when you try to get to know them and relate, they start to loosen up. And
they recognize you as a human, not an object.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately,
it didn't work.
It didn't work in this instance. Describing the aftermath of the shootings, Cassidy told the courtroom she remembered how the room smelled.
Oh.
That it just reeked of the smell of blood.
Oh.
And the air was just sour and hot. The atmosphere was heavy. And as she's describing this, Ronald just sat at the defense table with just a stoic look on his face. And he had no reaction. But according to the defense, he was sedated at the time.
Okay, well, it would be a lot of Xanax for me to have no reaction.
Yeah. After the jury heard that Ronald stalked the family for 2 days prior to the shooting, they knew for sure.
Right.
This spree was premeditated. It wasn't something, I mean, of course, and two, he drove. You know, he had like 3 or 4 days.
This isn't a crime of passion, heat of passion.
No.
I'm so angry right now.
Right.
No, he's
he knew exactly.
boiling up inside him.
Mm-hmm. He was probably getting angrier by the minute. He knew exactly what he was doing when he arrived at the stay home and executed them. Once the trial ended, the jury goes on to deliberate, and after only 4 hours...
Yeah, I was going to say that wouldn't take very long.
No. He was convicted of first-degree murder on all counts. Now it was time for them to decide on a sentence, and the sentence that they had available was the death penalty or life in prison.
This is Texas.
Yeah. So on October 11th, 2019, the jury sentenced him to die by lethal injection.
Again, it's Texas.
Exactly. I told you, Texas don't play.
Texas don't play.
I mean, I've never been there. I've heard it's lovely.
Texas don't play.
Don't commit a murder in Texas, right? I mean, of all places.
Is that the advice for
I
the
guess.
day?
I don't know.
For the week? Don't commit a murder in Texas.
Don't commit a murder. I guess do it in California, because if you go on death row...
you're never going to be.
You're never going to be.
They don't even have death row
Oh, yeah,
now.
they don't have death row anymore. So, I don't know. Anyway, I'm being sarcastic.
Sarcastic, don't
And in case anyone didn't recognize my sarcasm.
I did.
Thank you. During her victim impact statement, Cassidy told the jurors that her family always told her that Ronald only ever felt sorry for himself.
It's probably true.
Yeah. She looked at him and told him, she originally refused to believe that he only had felt sorry for himself, because she thought for sure he had to feel some sort of regret or sorrow for killing her entire family. But when she heard he had zero remorse, she said, something changed inside of her that, I mean, I'm sure she had to look at it where, she had to stop feeling like he's got to feel bad, right?
Because some people have no soul. They're called psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
They walk around as if they're human beings.
Yeah.
But they're missing their soul.
And she said, I just needed to have some closure in my life, because I couldn't keep carrying this around, and so she told Ronald, quote, "My closure was the hope that you would feel bad. I no longer have the desire for closure, because this is it." She knew in her heart that the only person who would be able to help her heal would be God, and the only one that would really truly punish him would be in the afterlife. So she turned to God with her anger and resentment.
Well, I'm sure there was some punishment in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
She said she was going to continue her life.
Death row in Texas doesn't sound like...
No, it doesn't. Death row anywhere doesn't sound
good.
No. But she told him, I'm going to continue on with my life. And at this point, she's 20 and she's a mother of her own.
Oh.
So she has a baby. And she said, I'm going to continue to live my life with happiness, and said, I'm going to forget about you, and I'm going to forget about this, and I'm going to be happy.
Wow.
So Ronald Lee Haskell is currently living out his miserable life on death row at the Allen B. Polinsky unit located near Livingston, Texas. And he was probably only in his mid-30s, I think, when this happened, so he's got a long time to stay there.
His poor kids, too.
Oh, I know.
Where's your dad? Oh, he's in prison for annihilating my family. That's a shame.
I know. It's a terrible story.
It's a lose-lose.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tanya.
For tuning in.
Which camera do I look at? Thank you, everyone.
Look at two.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening to today's horrible, horrible story. Family annihilation stories are fascinating.
Yeah, we did that one. Remember where the mocking, what was it? Remember Mocking something? Mocking Hill Road? Something like that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, these stories are just... I always wonder what it takes for someone to just snap like that. So
I could see like someone snapping and killing like Melody. I'm not saying...
You mean Melanie, yes.
Melanie. I'm not saying... But you can kind of sort of understand that.
Right.
But a little 4-year-old...
I know.
Like
Children? I know.
What's going
That's just
on?
an evil.
What's going on here?
It's just evil thought. Like, I'm going to hurt her so bad. I'm going to make her live and think about what I did to her family for the rest of her life. I mean, that's just evil.
That's
evil.
That is evil.
If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe, follow, like button, whichever
Any
is
positive button.
Yes, anything. If
Anything
you
positive.
would like to hear more episodes of our
Yes.
podcast, you can go to our website.
Crimesandconsequences.com.
And you can listen there. You can listen on any major podcast app.
Yep. Apple,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon.
Absolutely.
But
Spotify.
we recommend True Crime Daily.
Absolutely.
You too.
Yes.
So you can see our pretty faces.
And if you want even more episodes.
Who doesn't?
We have a Patreon channel or page. Whatever
What
you
is
want to call it.
What is
I
it?
don't
A
know.
page,
I don't know,
channel?
page, website, I guess.
I don't know.
And so you can go to patreon.com/TNT Crimes for Tanya and Talia Crimes.
Trying to make an N. T-N-T. Crime.
Like dynamite.
Dynamite.
And then you can also go to if you listen on Apple, you can go to the Apple Podcast app and subscribe there. So you'll get unreleased to the public episodes. And we probably have about close to 190 of those full episodes.
I thought we had 1 billion.
We do well, yeah, you know.
Oh, you can't do that. That'd be false advertising.
We
Millions
have quite
and
about
billions.
millions and billions of episodes. So if you're interested, check it out.
And we are going to do shout outs next week to all our Patreons that we have not.
Yeah, we haven't done it for a while. So
we're sorry.
So stay for next week to the end.
And we might have commenting on the commenter.
Or review the reviewer.
Or
We'll have to
review
figure it
the
out.
reviewer.
Yes.
It depends on how hurt we are inside by your comments.
So until our next episode.
Don't kill each other.
Bye.
Bye.